Aditya. Welcome to College Vibes, our very own podcast by College Counselling Coach. As you're aware, that our endeavor by means of this podcast is to help students who are currently aspiring to file for their admissions to universities in UK, USA, and Canada. And considering that you are currently a freshman at UIUC, we'd like to hear of your experiences, your preparation journey, and also advice from you as to what these students should be doing. Before we get into the real questions, we'd like to start with you telling us something about yourself, anything to do with where you've grown up, your school, where you're studying currently, what you're like. Over to you, Aditya.
Hi, my name is Aditya, and I'm currently a freshman studying computer science at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Um, I grew up in California in the Bay Area for the maybe first 7 years of my life, and then I moved to Bangalore in India, where I studied at Greenwood High. Um, I I love computer science. I've been doing it since I was really small, but I also have a lot of other hobbies. I love playing the drums. I love listening to music and reading books, and all those things. I think um, really helped me during my college application process that I'm excited to get into later.
All right. Thank you, Aditya. The next question that follows logically and sequentially is that how did you decide that, or when did you make up your mind, or even, how did the thought process start that I want to go to the US and I want to study there?
I think like at least compared to my friends, it's a little different for me because I grew up mainly in the US. So like I was already an American citizen, and I always had the goal of moving back there eventually to work because I have a lot of family there. So just even since I was small, like studying in the US specifically, I didn't apply anywhere else abroad. So studying specifically in the US was always in my mind, and mainly because I think also I want to do a tech job, and just generally the opportunities in the US are a lot better than what you can find here, specifically in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, East Coast. So I think like specifically for me, um, because of my major, because of my circumstances, going to the US was just the best option. I also have an older brother, and he went to the US to study, and I heard a lot of good things about it. So I wanted to do
Great.
the same.
So you had his example to follow, and of
Yeah.
course, the fact that you spent a major portion of your growing up years in the USA. So somewhere you knew deep down that this is where you
Mm,
have to come back to work. So in
mm,
fact, your answer, Aditya, is pretty much in line with what another of our students who we interviewed told us. She was a computer science graduate from Purdue, and she says that I wanted to work in the tech industry, and US was the best place to come to. And even though she'd applied to Canada, she thought that in any case, if the opportunities are best in the US, then might as well start from the US. And you've brought out that point again. So there are a lot of similarities in responses which students give us, and that is the reason why this podcast is so valuable. Because when 3 to 4 people are saying the same things, everybody understand that there's a pattern to it, there's a reason to it. So, apart from the fact that you were already an American citizen, you have a lot of family staying there, and I want to know how did you zero in on computer science? You told me that you have been tinkering with computer science for a very long time, ever since you were a little kid. So, how come computer science? How come your love for this, and how did you decide this is going to be your major?
mm. I think a lot of it this comes from like my surroundings. My dad is a computer scientist. My brother also did computer science. So
Wow.
since I was small, like they would always be working on like small passion projects. They'd just be building things for fun, and like naturally, like I also took part in that a lot. So I think because I was exposed to it a lot, I realized that that it's something I really enjoy, and also gradually like as once I got old enough, I started just doing it for fun. Like I would build programs for fun, I'd make games for fun, and just through like more experimentation, I realized that I really enjoy it. And also um like obviously there's some people will be like, why couldn't you just keep it as a hobby, or like um if it's just an interest. But I think like specifically with computer science, it's also just such a growing field that I felt that I could take what I've learned in just all of my own practices and like apply it into the workforce, apply it at college. And it's obviously a really well paying major, and it has like plenty of opportunities.
Excellent. Excellent. Really a
So
well-paying major. I mean, are you talking about it in terms of the fulfillment it gives you, or in terms of the emoluments it's going to fetch once college is over?
both.
Both.
I
I'm
think.
so glad that you gave a very candid reply to that. I'm deviating a bit, Aditya, from my line of questioning. And when you said that, you started making games, you started making programs, and I'm also an essay mentor for students, who are
Mm,
applying for colleges abroad. And one of the questions that I have come across is that what is your ultimate goal? And how is this
mm,
major going to help you to achieve that career goal? So, considering you're so passionate about computer science and you've got a legacy of sorts with the father and the brother also being so well accomplished in that department, do you have a big career goal? How to utilize whatever you've learned in these 4 years and carry it forward, not just in terms of further studies, but in terms of a larger goal of achieving something, in terms of value, in terms of a humanitarian thing, or a larger goal,
mm.
basically.
Um, I think I did talk about this in I think some essay, but there's right now like there's no like specific thing that I have like, oh, like I want to create this specifically. But
Okay.
like I always talked about how I like a lot of the projects I did were using computer science to help people. So like for example, like building like a program so that people who were physically impaired could use a computer, like using
Oh,
just their eyes instead of using a hand, or
okay.
like just like building like simple apps that would solve like basic problems. But like I always
Excellent.
mention that like my ultimate goal is to use computer science to solve some problem that it's either big or small, but just something that has a positive impact and that helps as many people as possible. So
Fabulous.
it doesn't have to be life changing, but just something that helps.
What about your common essay, your common app essay, Aditya? What was the topic that you chose?
It was very similar to this. It was talking about why I love computer science, everything I've done in computer science, and what I plan to do with computer science. It was very focused on my major, and it
Okay.
was very focused on like my experiences.
So was it that particular topic which said that mentioned something that you are totally engrossed in that makes you lose
Yeah,
all track of time, and why
mm,
is it so?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was exactly that one.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Because I remember Siddhant also wrote something on that about economics being his love.
Hmm.
So uh, when did you start preparing for the admission process, Aditya?
Um, I think I only very like properly started like shortlisting colleges, preparing or starting writing essays. I think in like 11th summer I started.
11th summer. Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you zero in on the colleges to apply for? And what were the colleges that you applied to?
I think it was just a lot of research. Most of it was specifically like what is good for my major. Like, um, so obviously like colleges like Carnegie Mellon, UC Berkeley, um, all the UCs, Purdue, U Madison, Georgia Tech, U Michigan, just like the very classic STEM engineering schools that
Okay.
also have very specifically good computer science departments. And
Okay.
the way I found it was mainly through research and like rankings, and also there were like some schools that like I picked just because of like location and convenience. So that had obviously still good programs in computer science, but they weren't like specifically known for that. So
Okay.
I
Got
looked
it.
at a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of the colleges that you got acceptance from and you
Mhm.
chose UIUC, I'm sure it's very prestigious, it's very reputed, and it's a very coveted thing for you,
Mhm.
as for any other aspirant to get into computer science at UIUC. But
Mhm.
I'd like to ask you, what was it specifically about UIUC that made you decide that this is going to be the place for me?
Mhm. So I think like ultimately I was deciding between computer science at either UIUC or Purdue or UC San Diego. Those were like my final like decisions. But I think I picked UIUC one because um, out of the three, it does have the highest like best reputation in computer science. There's most graduate opportunities for research. There's a lot of co-op programs and research fairs. to get internships, and there's just a lot of opportunities in computer science specifically. And also, when I was looking at like overall like college life, I didn't want to like all three schools that I was picking from were like big state schools. So like I wanted to be surrounded by like a diverse crowd. I wanted to interact with people from all majors, um, and UIUC like fulfilled that. And it also was known for having a very good college life, like a lot of good RSOs, student organizations that you could join. And like out of the three, it was the one that was just like I think like it fulfilled most of my criteria. The only
Great.
thing is like the weather, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
So only thing is what? Can you say that again?
The weather.
I didn't get that.
I'm not used to the cold. It's very
The
cold here.
cold. It's very cold. Yeah, that's what you told me initially, that it's like minus 10. And
Yeah.
so you were telling me something about UIUC before we started recording this interview, Aditya. I'd like you to touch
Mhm.
upon that because it gives one, a little taste of what it's like where you are
Mhm.
sitting.
Yeah. So right now UIUC is in a small town called Urbana-Champaign. It's two towns, and it's in Illinois, but it's quite far from the main city. Like the biggest city I'd say is Chicago, which is maybe 2 to 3 hours away by drive. So um, essentially, there's a lot of farmland in Illinois, and this college campus with maybe 60, 70,000 people is just situated in the middle of the farmland. So you get it's just a very big college town, and I think um, for some people that could be very boring not being close to a city, but also I think for me personally it gives like the best college experience because you're always surrounded by other people who are trying to have fun in a situation where there's not many things to do nearby. So the college campus itself has a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things that you can find on campus for entertainment, and most of my entertainment comes from interacting with other students, and I think that just gives a better like holistic college experience, rather than going to the city every week and um,
Great, great.
just doing
So
things.
it's what you had envisioned, that
Mhm.
I'd like to join this college for the experience of interacting with a diverse population, making connection, and that's exactly what you're doing right now. So inadvertently, you've answered a question which flows next. Is there something interesting about your college, some tradition, some specific thing which only you would know about? Like we interviewed someone from Oxford, and she says that they have something called a subfask, and the dress that they wear for their graduation, and
Mhm.
something else about her college in particular. So do you have, and our Arnav told us about how just before the exams start, they all go for a fountain run in Purdue and try to ease off their tension. And if everybody is able to drink something from that water, or is able to get sprinkled with some water from these fountains, I mean, you'll be able to score well during your tests. So, is there anything unique, and it doesn't really have to be funny or unusual, but anything in particular about your college which you think makes it unique and which only an insider would know of?
I think one thing that's quite funny, maybe a little problematic, is
Uh-huh.
that on campus, all of the bars are open to 19-year-olds instead of 21-year-olds. So this specific
Oh,
place
wow.
in Illinois has a very different legal system because of college students. So
Okay.
it's it's an
Okay.
interesting fact.
Great, great. So this is about the bars that are open to 19-year-olds. So I
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
it's a happy situation for the 19-year-olds. Anything academically within the campus which could be interesting.
I think one thing is there's a lot of events for like different cultures. So, I mean, I'm sure it's on every campus, but here, like for Diwali, for example, all of the Indian orgs had events and festivals, and there's a lot of different cultural communities. So, like, you end up participating in a lot of different like cultural fairs and events in the local community. So,
It's truly a
that's something
global
that's nice.
community in the real sense
Yeah.
of the term. Okay.
Mhm.
Now a cliche question, but important nonetheless. Um, Aditya, what is the advice that you would have for students who are currently preparing for, putting in their applications, submitting their applications, writing their essays, getting basically, prepped for their admission processes? What is your advice to them?
I think one thing is that like it's definitely like really stressful. So you want to minimize the stress in towards the end of deadline. So I think starting early is the best thing you can do. I'm generally like I try not to procrastinate much, and I think that really helped me because I started writing my college essays like in the beginning of summer itself. By the time like the deadlines in October came, um, I had time to apply to different colleges that I found like I was able to like I researched more, or I heard about that I thought were interesting. So it's a lot less stressful, and I think also that time period in school can be very busy because you have exams coming up, mock exams coming up. So also applying in the early action round was something that I really liked doing because now like especially like if you're doing the IB curriculum, the mock exams will be coming up in maybe like a month. So getting things out of the way as soon as possible, I think really helps a lot in the time management. Also, I think like just in general with applications, it's good to like map out everything you have and explore like what is most important to you, and then advertise that. As you need to like advertise yourself, so brand that primarily. So even if it's not something that's related to your major, you should still try to represent yourself as much as you can, I think.
Great. The other question, Aditya, is I mean, before I come to that question, I think across the board, whoever we've interviewed so far has said this
Mhm,
thing that
mhm,
yes, we have to start early. And this is a common advice that everyone has given, that we need to start early. Okay. Aditya, if there was one thing that you were to do differently with respect to your
mhm.
admission prep, what would it be?
um I think I would definitely like give more priority to essays. So like I think like looking back on it now that like a lot of time has passed, um like I don't think my essays were poorly written in any sense, but I think they could have been more unique to like stand out
Okay.
from other people. Because like as a computer science major, writing about computer science is a lot of computer science majors are going to do that. So like
Okay.
I think like writing about something that most people would not think to write about is like something that I wish I did.
Okay.
But
To think
um
about it differently, to think about
yeah.
representing yourself
Hmm.
more than just somebody who's interested in computer science as a
Yeah.
major, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
I
And
think like
uh,
ev-
would you
um
have preferred to have a mentor help you do that, or did you do? I mean, did you do it yourself? My first question is
no,
this.
no, I did have a mentor to help me, but
Okay.
I wish we took a different direction with how we approached it.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to get into a quick rapid fire round with you. Nothing very serious. What's your college, Aditya?
The University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign,
Your major?
computer science,
Your favorite subject?
math or computer science.
Okay. What's your hobby?
I love reading. I love listening to music, playing the drums, playing table tennis,
Okay.
and
And who was the
programming.
biggest influencer in your college application process?
Maybe my dad and my brother, and
Okay.
I think just talking to peers was a big influence as well. Talking to my friends.
Okay. Aditya, usually this is where I end. I thank the person
Mhm,
who's on the other side and say, it's been a great interview, and whatever insights you've given are going to be of great help to people who are
mhm,
currently applying for admissions abroad. But with you, I have a certain curiosity because
mhm,
you gave such a poetic description of the place that you're in. I'd like to ask you: Are you
mhm.
are the things that you are doing in line with what your expectations were? And how does this place give meaning to what you have been wanting to pursue?
Honestly, like coming in, I didn't have like expectations about how specifically it would be. Like I knew specific like the computer science core class would be difficult. I knew like the college was in the middle of nowhere. But I think once I've come here, like it's not that I didn't anticipate the way things would go. It's just that once you're finally in college, it's a lot more than you expect.
Right.
Like I couldn't like imagine the scale of seeing um 40,000 people in this small area, or going to a lecture hall and being filled with compared to like 30 students in school, having 120 students in the same lecture hall watching a professor. So I think like imagining it is one thing, but finally experiencing it,
Is
meeting these
another.
people from different backgrounds, who I haven't interacted with ever, it's like it's just a lot more than what it seems like, I think.
And you can never
It,
never quite fathom it or imagine it.
yeah, I think until you
Is it
experience it, it's very
overwhelming
difficult.
at certain points of
Um, maybe like initially like you're overwhelmed because you're exposed to so many new things, but I think like it's overwhelmed in a good way.
Okay, and then you go ahead and own that space.
Yeah.
Great. Aditya, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. And thank you so much for sparing your time with us. And I hope it gets warm very soon and you're able to enjoy the weather there. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.